Okay, we'll call this October meeting of the Muskego Parks and Conservation Committee to order. First item is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Wendy, you want to call the roll?
Alderman Kapusta. Toby Whipple.
Here.
Terry Boyer.
Here.
Matthew Bugman.
Here.
Barbara Erdman.
Here.
Bill Miller.
Here.
Barbara Schrader.
Okay, we have a quorum. Meeting was posted in accordance with the open meetings law. Next item is approval of the minutes from, I guess we'll take these individually, from the April 12th meeting. Everybody get a chance to read them, look at them? Any corrections, changes? Motion to approve?
A motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Hearing no changes, motion to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Nay. Minutes from April are approved. And then we have the minutes from the July 12th meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve again.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any corrections to that meeting's minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, both minutes are approved. New business, Ryan Drive Trail discussion. How come this isn't coming up here on here?
Okay.
Shouldn't it come up if I click on it, or no, maybe
No,
not?
yeah,
Me-
you should
I just
scroll.
gotta
Okay.
scroll through, never mind.
I just want to make sure your microphone is on. You okay?
Okay.
Okay. Hey, Wendy. Wendy, could you move to the map? It's a lot easier for people to kind of. So we've had a resident that's reached out to myself, DPW, Alderman Madden, a variety of people. And the idea and the request is to have a discussion about a Ryan Drive trail discussion. Now, in red, it is kind of like just me throwing a trail on there. I have not decided, no one has decided if it's on one side of the road or the other side of the road. It's just for discussion purposes. So the residents looking for, as we see more and more development on Ryan Drive, the request is to have us consider doing a trail. Now, how we decided to do this was first have this resident and a couple people talk to you guys. If you guys would say, yeah, this is a good idea, I would bring it forth to Public Works and Safety Committee. And if they say it's a good idea, what happens is I kind of put it on capital projects. And we just did this recently for one on Martin Trail or Martin Drive. And it would be like, I would set up a capital project to do a kind of RFP in 2023 and a couple years out to construct one. Now, trails are interesting. We had one that recently was done on Bay Lane when we did the Bay Lane road reconstruction, and that one went through. We just did Hillendale. If you guys haven't driven it, it'll be open tomorrow. It's great, but no trail was put on there. You have people for trails very strong, and you have people against trails very strong. The other thing too is they're costly. For example, if you would close in one of the ditches over there, I got to figure out how to do stormwater. You can't just put a trail right on a ditch. And for every person that maybe wants a trail on that corridor, there's people that might not want a trail on that corridor. So I just kind of bring all the things up. Also recently, the last one we've done was probably with Bay Lane, and that was road reconstruction. But the other two, I think, were in 2018 when we did a little portion of Martin, and we did the one out from Racine from the high school down to that subdivision. But they're costly. I got a cost one to do Landon from Janesville to, was that College up there, or Martin, Landon and Martin, and that was about almost $500,000 to put a trail in. You know, And the focus has been mostly on Common Council to focus on our roads. So I'm just kind of giving you a background of everything there. The other thing too is I put in gold, and if Wendy can kind of lower the picture a little bit, go the other way. Yeah, okay. So there's a development that has come to Plan Commission for conceptual. They are proposing a trail as part of the development from Ryan Drive to Boxhorn. Now again, this is proposed. It's not guaranteed. Nothing has gone through any of the process, but this is one of the conceptual things that they brought to Plan Commission for their development. It'd be I think 20 lot conservation just to the east, and where that line is kind of the high tension lines. If you guys can think about it, it just goes underneath there. And now, I don't know what that trail will be. I don't know if it's grass yet. I don't know if it's asphalt millings. I don't even know if it's pavement yet. It's just for me to give you an idea of what's all going on in the area. So, what the one resident asked is she could speak to you guys. There's a couple of people here, but I just want you to kind of hear from them, and you guys can kind of consider and make the decision. And if you want to move forward, just say yes, and we can shoot it to Public Works and Safety Committee. I don't have one in October, but I think November or December, I'll probably have one more Public Works and Safety Committee. So, any questions of me before? I know what residents would like to talk, so I'd like to give them the opportunity to talk.
Was it Pat, right? Pam, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
To the microphone. Just introduce yourself and.
Perfect.
Good. Figured that one out. My name is Pam Swanson. Do you need my address?
Yeah, state it.
W137 S9667 Fairway Lane in Muskego, of course. I have some notes here. Forgive me for doing that, but I want to make sure I cover everything that we've discussed. I believe you have a packet. In your packet of information, there should be a map, and I also gave Toby a
Yeah.
map.
The one we have in our packet is the one that's up on the screen. And I gave them the copies that you gave me of
Okay.
this, so everybody's got
That's
access.
kind of a blow up so that you can see it a little more closely about what we're talking about. First of all, I want to say thank you so very much for allowing us to come and speak to you. The people that are here in this room are all from our neighborhood. We have a very growing neighborhood. The reason that we're here is for the safety concerns that we have. The road that we're considering is from North Cape all the way down to the lake. That's where Ryan Drive is. The destination is the lake. So a lot of people do that walk just to be around that lake area. So our concern is safety for pedestrians. The foot traffic that's on there is considerable. We did a little bit of research on it about the city, and we found that the first house was built on the Ryan Drive area in 1880, and then the last of the three homes was 1915, and there was nothing built until 1950, and those were the homes that were put in on Grove Way and on Boxhorn. Then we skipped a time period in there, and then in 1990, that's when I believe that the city became a city, and the records were then taken over, but nothing before that shows. So we don't have an idea when that road was built, when the Ryan Drive was built. As a result, since then, there have been 3 very large subdivisions that were developed. Those are the Champions Village, which is the first one that you come to as you're coming off of North Cape. Then the second one is the St. Andrews condo complex. And then the last one is the Brubeck that was just put together. And that has just been, I think most of the homes are either being built or are completed. Ryan Drive has not had anything done to it that we are aware of since the 1990. As a result, it's a 22-foot road. It has no shoulder. It has no step off. It has no walking path. Unfortunately, we can't use the golf course because the golf course, of course, is off limits for golfers. So there's no walking path. And then compound that with COVID. Once we had COVID, a lot of the people were home and they wanted to have a place to exercise and work out. So they spilled over onto Ryan Drive. It has become extremely, extremely dangerous. There have been people that have had to do the ditch dive, which we simply say there's no place to go, so they dive into the ditch. I fortunately have not had that happen to me because I'm a little bit more ambulatory, but some people are not. Okay, so then we have the increased construction. Because of all of the construction that's been going on since the beginning, about 2005, we've had constant construction going up and down Ryan Drive. We also have vehicles that are service vehicles. We have people that are just dropping things off, Amazon and so forth, that are using that road on a continual basis. Because it's a large community, a lot of homes, there are a lot of deliveries coming back and forth. And then we add to that the population increase, and that is significant. So people are spilling over onto the road. We are concerned for safety. That is our main concern. We know that the children have been on the road. They bike, skateboard. They use every different medium to get out onto that road. Some of the parents have said, you're not allowed on that road because it's too dangerous. But a lot of children are still there, especially during the summertime. Then we have the school buses coming, so the children are waiting for school buses. In addition, then we have other people, like adults, who want to get exercise. And so it is a logical thing in our natural setting to take advantage of that. So as a result, we have been walking on that road. It's dangerous for the people that are walking, but it's also a significant inconvenience for the drivers trying to figure out how do you navigate around bikers? How do you navigate around a person that's walking a dog? So I guess what I'm trying to say is that the danger is very real. We are concerned that somebody is either going to be badly hurt or even killed. And that might sound extreme, but it's a reality. We want to ask you to please consider moving this forward as expeditiously as you possibly can. We need to get some help in that area. And so we are asking you to commit that, to consider it. We know that it's not on a 5-year plan. We know that there's nothing that has been planned for that area. So I'm very grateful that Scott shared his information about the roads. The other thing that's interesting is that, as he mentioned, this new subdivision is coming in on the north side of the road. So again, we're going to have that emptying onto Ryan Drive. The problem is with that, although they are talking about having a conservation path, which will be wonderful in the area, and people will use it. We'll probably have more people using it than we presently have walking the street. But the problem with that is we still can't access it. We still have to use Ryan Drive to get there. So that's our situation. That's our concern. Do you have any questions that you want to ask me before I turn the microphone off and walk away? Nope. Thank you.
I'm
Thank you
sorry.
very
I
much.
just have a quick question.
Make it easy. I don't
Yeah,
do
no,
hard ones.
Comparison to this map, I just want clarification. A comparison this map to this one, you're referring to expanding it beyond what's just
Yes,
labeled
this
up
is
there.
just kind of a blow up.
Yeah.
We've just expanded it out.
Okay.
And the little squiggly line that I drew on there was from the entrance on from Champions Village all the way down to the end of the new subdivision.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other residents that want to speak besides Pam? Want to come up to the mic?
Good afternoon. I'm Sam Steffen, S95W13457 St. Andrews Drive. I'm in the St. Andrews condo area. Quite familiar with the traffic issue around here. I'm looking at this as a two-part issue. The first is I would like to see the distant priority walking path, recreation trail along the American Transmission Company right-of-way put in place. I think that is a reasonably doable thing. We're taking a area where you could do a crushed material walkway. You're not affecting neighbors, you're not affecting utilities, ditches, drainage, et cetera. So I think that would be a good deal to get that in. That's what I'm looking for. I just walked Ryan Road this morning, and the issue I find there is we're suffering from a transitory issue right now. We have a lot of bypass traffic that normally would be on Double O that's now coming through Boxhorn. That will ultimately go away. The other issue Pam brought up is construction. And the issue there is some of these contractors simply believe that road is a 50-mile-an-hour road. That, I believe, can be solved by having the police or DPW go back to the contractors, to the people who are running this whole construction of the subdivision, get that resolved there. What I did find on Ryan Road, again, walked it this morning, is the road is narrow. It's a 22-foot road. There's fairly large drainage ditches along many parts of that. To rebuild that, I see as being a very expensive situation. What I did see, though, is quite a bit of Ryan Drive has gravel shoulders that have disappeared over the years. And I think reconstruction and possible enhancement of the gravel shoulders would be extremely helpful. That gives a place for the pedestrians to step off. I realize you can't run that the entire length of Ryan Drive. It's just not probably practical. But I would say there's a good 70% of Ryan Drive, at least from, as I saw, from St. Andrews Drive onto Ryan, or onto Double O. There's quite a bit of area that the shoulder could be rehabbed, brought back to life, give us a decent 2 to 3 foot walk-off area. A few areas you can't, but I think that would go a long way to helping the pedestrian traffic, and it would be more cost effective. I just don't see a complete rebuild of Ryan Road, Ryan Drive. I'm concerned, I moved out here because it's a rural feel. I don't want this to turn into a fairly large boulevard as like a Bay Lane or something. My comments, that's it. Any questions for me?
I guess not, thank you. Is there anyone else that that's here to speak about this right now? Scott, I have one question for you. Unfortunately, I was out of town. I didn't get a chance to drive it this week. Is there space to put a trail there if we choose to go that route, or
Again,
it's pretty severe?
Again.
I mean, he was talking about being able
We have not looked at anything. When we start doing with the RFP, again, besides drainage, besides looking, I hope I don't have to purchase right away. It's always a big thing, taking trees down. I have nothing, guys. I have not looked at this one bit except for just drawing a line on one side of the road. I haven't even looked at both sides. If I would have a study done, I'd have them survey everything and then say which one makes more sense or which one has less, probably less cost to the city, and make it more reasonable. Again, these are all things done when you do a 30% plans and you start going into it. I can't give you any idea of now what it is. My only thing is this: if you guys do decide to move forward, the only thing I would like to say is give me limits, because then I can give you a cost. If you go from North Cape to the new subdivision, that's fine, or whatever road, if you want me to do it. But I can't give you anything really hard because I don't know it myself. So
We don't have a trail along North Cape right now, do we? Along
yes,
Oak?
west side. You can see it right up there. West side of the road. See, it kind of separates
Oh,
a
yeah.
little bit.
Okay.
Yep. It's logical to take this all the way to North Cape because then you can go everywhere.
Well, my big thing would be how many constituents does it serve, which I think long range could serve quite a few, and how does it tie into the existing trail system? And that's why I was asking about if we had, I didn't remember if we had put that trail in along Double O. I know we talked about it for years. I think it would make sense if we did pursue it to go all the way to 00. Board members, comments?
I would agree if you're going to do it to go all the way to the existing trail. If it's going to be used.
Pam, on the map that you gave me, which street was it that you cut off here, where you stopped? You didn't have it drawn all the way to 00.
That's Champion. It's the entrance to Champions and Jimmy's.
did is I took it from Champions Village
Yep.
outlet to the end. This is the
And that's Jimmy Dean Drive.
Okay,
right there.
yep,
Or I think it is Jimmy,
okay.
I can't even read that.
There are homes, I'm sorry.
No, not your writing, I can't read the Jimmy Dem.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to,
So it looks like hers goes from there to the turn. There you go. Wonderful.
Jimmy Demmer Drive. I think, if we're gonna pursue it, it makes total sense to go all the way, to connect to the other trail at North Cape.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't make much sense to do just from there to there,
Right.
so.
I guess maybe you can answer this, probably the first half of the question, the second half of my question, probably not. Are there any future plans for revamping Ryan Drive at this point in time?
So right now, I'm in the process of doing every 2 years, we do Paisley ratings, looking at all the roads. I did about a fifth of the roads right now. The DPW and I, we drive all the roads, and then we rank them. If we would do Ryan Drive, it was not in our next 5-year road program. Again, after I do this rating, we kind of adjust everything because there's been a lot more truck traffic on Ryan than normal. That could take that road down a lot faster than it did 2 years ago. So when we get into it, do I have plans of ever reconstructing Ryan Drive? No, the plan would maybe be we mill off 2 inches and then we put back 3 inches or something like that. There's no plan to fully reconstruct the road. Or we pulverize it, which is we break it up in place and then we shape and grade it and then we would put a layer of asphalt on top of it. But at that time, when we have that road, we would definitely look at do we upgrade our shoulders a little bit? And that's a simple grading thing, no big deal. But I would not recommend full reconstruction of that road.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to get, I was wondering if there was future construction plan.
Nothing,
for Ryan
nothing
Drive.
yet for the next 5 years. But again, after I do this Paisley rating, it could move up in the list, so.
And then the second half, and we're probably not going to get answered tonight on this, is what I would like to know is what is the traffic enforcement from Muskego PD, or, PD in that area? Are we seeing an increase in speeding? Do we have traffic accidents or anything like that? I know you're not going to be able to answer that, but I guess that's one thing that would satisfy me before making a recommendation.
Here's some things. Okay, Ryan Drive just got taken down to 25 mile an hour, and that was just recent, and that's from North Cape all the way over. During that time period, I looked at the last 5 years for accidents. Most of the accidents have occurred where at North Cape and Ryan. There was one coming out of one of the roads just south of Ryan, I can't remember, and that was just a failure to stop at a stop sign. But most of the other ones have been at the intersection. Now, PD, I cannot answer for the PD. I do know that they've been writing more tickets. I know there's a game plan to add a couple more officers. And I only know about the ticket writing is because court has been more busy here. So,
Fair enough, thank you.
yep.
Anyone want to make a motion to move this forward to Public Works? Or not?
I'd like to make a motion to move it forward.
Is there a second? I'll second it.
Okay.
Any other discussion on this?
I would like more information as far as how much it would cost.
Right.
It's really a difficult thing to vote on something when we don't have.
Right now, we're just moving it
Right.
forward to Public Works, and then to get more information, eventually, if it keeps moving, get an RFP out, right, Scott?
What's going to happen is this. After Public Works, if it does go there, it'll go to capital. So every August, I'm in front of the 7 council members, and if you decide to put, the Public Works decide to put it on there, I will have under the parks, I have trails, and recently we haven't had anything for trails. But I would probably have like, okay, in 2023, based off of, I think from this length to this length, the RFP might be anywhere from $20,000 to $30,000. And that would be to hire a consultant to survey everything, give me 30% plans. I would then try to look at latest trails done throughout southeast Wisconsin, and based off of how much it is per mile, I'd break it down by linear feet and then throw an estimate 2 years down the way so that the committee could see like this trail could be anywhere from $500,000 to maybe $750,000. That's how I throw on those costs. And then after the 30% plans are done, they give me a cost estimate that's pretty true, and then I can take it forward to do capital. That's how kind of it works. I need to get something out there, but I'm just kind of giving an idea. And that would then, you'll see it on the next 5-year capital plan for 2023. You guys would see it under parks, under trail. This is what this cost would be, and this is what this cost is. I haven't done any of that kind of research yet, because if no one's interested in doing it, I'm not going to go run out and do it. But I will start working on these things. But we haven't done trails in a while. So it's kind of something that you guys, it's part of your committee, and then Public Works aside. And then in the end, the 7 people on the council, they make the decisions of how we want to spend money. So, but I want to be honest with you. The last couple that have come in, they're fairly expensive. I'm not going to lie. You think of it, you're still doing almost the same kind of detail work as a road, but you're doing less asphalt, and it's more kind of fine work. So you can't bring a big paver, and you got to bring a lot more like littler equipment. So, and then, as I said, trails have been a very hot topic. For every person who wants a trail, there's a person who doesn't want a trail. And usually trails tend to take trees, and that can be sometimes a very good argument back and forth. Like I said, you had one that went in with Bay Lane and one that did not go in with Hillendale. So, for trails.
Scott, is there any other requests from Alderman in other areas that are looking at trails right now?
The only other one that it was Martin Trail, that was a request by Alderman Terrence because of Kirtland Crossing. And there's a little portion of Martin that wasn't done between Lannon, and I want to say there's a church right there on Lannon or on Martin, and that area has a gap between the trail. It was done back in 2016, and RFP was started, and then the RFP got pulled by Public Works, and nothing ever got started, continued on it. So that's the only one else that one definitely Public Works had to put it on capital, so that one is going. So next year in August, I will show to the council members on 2023 an RFP and what I would estimate in 2 years out to be a cost for that trail. So, and that trail can be kind of difficult if anyone's driven it. There's a lot of trees in the right of way. It'd be on the north side of the road. The drainage is pretty steep, so I'd somehow have to account for that drainage as well. So.
Do you have any idea, long range, what the potential would be to do something along the utility right away?
Are you showing the one in the gold there, or the?
Well, is that the same as what you've got in gold on yours?
That is from a developer who has that piece of property, and with the part of his development, he brought up a concept plan. He owns that portion from Ryan Drive all the way over to Boxhorn, and his proposal in the conceptual plan of the Plan Commission was to provide a trail for the city of Muskego. Now again, conceptual only. We haven't had a plat yet. We haven't had anything. We haven't had any costs. That was just his proposal. But I wanted to provide it to you so that you guys know that there is some sort of discussion. But he's just proposing it right now. There's nothing in writing. There's no agreements. There's nothing saying that he has to do that trail. So.
Okay. Any other discussion? Motion is to move this forward to Public Works for further analysis. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
You're one opposed? Okay.
One question, I just want to make sure, the map that you have, do you want me to do the limits for the map that Pam provided you? Because I just need limits, like North Cape to what road?
Well, I think what we were discussing is going all the way down Ryan, all the way to North Cape.
Okay, that's fine, I just need to,
I think if we're gonna do it, if it moves along and we decide to do it, that's the only thing that makes sense.
okay, that's perfect.
Connect it to the other trail, in other words.
Yeah, that's perfect. That's all I needed to know. All
Okay,
right, thank you.
thank you. Okay, next item is Muskego Astronauts request for trail markings. This is an annual thing. I don't think anything has changed.
No change. Same place coming off of Little Muskego Lake on Access 17 and then going through Danoon Park. And parking in the lot there.
Sir, we having any trouble with the lake access because of the snowmobile trail going through there or anything?
We haven't had a whole lot of snow the last 2 winters,
Yeah,
so
that makes
there
sense.
was not a whole lot of heavy use off of the lake access. The park did have a lot of use. We did have some issues with people going through the middle of the park. But once we saw it and we talked to the president of the club, it was better.
Okay, is there a motion to approve the snowmobile trail usage?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second? Bill seconds. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved. Okay, then we have the Parks and Conservation Plan update.
So in front of you, especially in the yellow, and hopefully you guys have seen it on the website, and I can't say enough for Tammy and Adam Young, the amount of stuffing envelopes and stuff that was taken out. But we have a survey out for our Parks and Conservation, and it's our 5-year plan. But just kind of give you an idea, I believe we already have, they all went out when, last Friday? Last Thursday. We already got 12 back? 12 mailed back and 162 online already. So it's great for us. The more communication, the more response. This will help us create our next 5-year plan. This will also help us with capital projects, all the good stuff. So if anyone, you guys see it, promote it, let people know that it's out there. But just to kind of give you an update, we are really in the stage now of gathering a lot of information. And the most you guys can do is promote it and let people know this is their time to, be heard. So, which is great. So, anything else you have to add on that? But we just wanted to kind of give you a quick update of what's going on. I'll ask, have you guys seen the surveys? Have you heard anything about it? I'm just curious.
I just got it today because I was out of town.
Okay, but you got one in the mail.
I got it.
Good. That's good. That's good. So, and some of you might have gotten overlap because of how close you are to parks. You might have got one talking about one park and then talking about another park. So, we kind of followed the same process that was done for the last study of just kind of how hitting them up with the surveys. So.
Any questions from anyone? I think it's good that we do this every so often. I think it's excellent. Okay, next item is athletic field use policy update. Tammy?
So back in 2017, we redid the athletic policy when all of the ball field prep costs kept changing with the dissolving of the Parks Department and DPW taking over maintenance and them not having a ball field prep. So we've been using that agreement or that policy since that time. Now with the Park Arthur Fields 1, 2, and 3 being turfed, we needed to revise this policy again to take into consideration the recouping of costs for that turf that was put in. And so this is just, a majority of the policy has stayed the same. It just includes certain things like charging for practices for non-Muskego teams or even Muskego teams who want to practice on it. We'll keep it more as a premium game field than a practice field. There really wasn't a whole lot of changes in the overall policy. It was more just adding the fee structure in for outside use games and tournaments, things like that on those 3 fields. We will also be not including the maintenance, the field game prep maintenance in our maintenance contract. We will be working with the organizations to provide their own maintenance and their own field prep. We will maintain the fields to keep them safe, but they will have to chalk their own lines and things like that with them hiring their own insured provider. We will do a drone shot of every field monthly so we can see if they're getting abused and work with those organizations to repair that damage.
Any comments from the board? Tammy, did, under category 2, where we talk about 100% Muskego residents, correct me if I'm wrong, we've always kind of considered that school district, even though I realize.
Sure. So when we redid this in 2017, we left the school, we got rid of one category, and one of the categories was just new programs. We don't have a lot of new programs coming in, so they will just fall into one of these categories. Category 2 has always been the Muskego youth programs that are 100% Muskego teams playing 100% Muskego teams. So like the MAA, the kickers, where it's all Muskego kids playing Muskego kids. They have never paid a fee for use. They do pay if we have maintenance. They have put money towards improvements in the parks, like the kickers have done overseeding of grass and things like that. Category 3 is the school district, and that is more, we would just be meeting with them. We meet every fall and look at what their use is. The only thing they really pay for are the cross-country meets, and that's just because we have to massively close the park, bring in extra portables, do special mowings and things like that. But they don't have any other programs that use our parks other than the cross-country, both Danoons and the high school. The category 4 is the non-Muskego team. So the Storm and the Warriors are considered in that category because they're less than 100% of the team is Muskego kids, and they're playing teams from New Berlin, Franklin, wherever. So we got rid of that 5th category, which was new teams, and just went to the 4 categories.
But let's say, like, I'll just use the kickers as an example. Obviously, there's kids playing in that program that aren't Muskego residents, but they're probably Muskego Norway School District residents. So they would still fall under the 100% Muskego
Correct.
residents for participation, I guess.
Correct. And as long as they're playing another team that's also a Muskego team that might have one kid that,
Right.
So really, it's the rec department and the classes we offer, then the MAA, the kickers, then it's the school district, and then it's those auxiliary groups that are more select in nature that would fall into that. And the fees, the only change for the fees were for the Park Arthur 1, 2, and 3 fields. All of the other fees have remained the same for Bloom, Danoon, Jensen, Horn, Kurth. It was just when the turf was agreed to be put in, we worked with the council on coming up with a fee structure to help recoup those fees to pay for improvements and replacement of turf and things like that in the future. But I do need you guys to agree on this policy because it does have to go to finance because it has costs incurred with it. Finance has to give final approval.
Okay.
So is what you changed the highlighted part?
No, the highlighted part was just showing you what that we are charging for practices. We currently do not charge for a baseball team to have a practice right now. They go into the software, they book their practice because there's no prep or anything done for it. So if they're practicing at Bloom, they won't have a fee. If a team elects to practice at Park Arthur 1, 2, or 3, when they pick that in our software, they'll immediately be charged a fee of $100 for an hour and a half practice. Because we fully expect most of those practices are going to be taken by non-Muskego teams who are looking for practice locations, and our teams will pick Bloom or wherever with the no cost.
Is there a motion to approve the new policy and move it along to the Finance Committee for approval?
I'll move it.
Is there a second? Second. Okay. Terry, did you have other questions?
I'm good.
You good?
The
Okay.
there is one other change, and now that I'm playing back through. We did put in a $750 deposit for using the turfed fields. That's the only other turf change, because the bases, what did Ryan say? They were like $600 to replace a base. So if somebody does damage or something, their security deposit would cover that. And we actually will be hiring a turf manager who will be on site on those Park Arthur fields every time there are games. They will be the ones opening up facilities, turning on lights, setting up the field accordingly. So we're hoping to maintain them in the highest standards for a really long time, because we will be doing all the work, not having just a coach come out and move things around.
Okay. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? It's approved. Okay, next is the beer garden update.
So, again, beer gardens, Adam Young kind of like wrote this. He's been like on a day-to-day basis. So this year we collected $5,200. It's just a straight fee, daily rate of $400. Again, attendance was noticeably lower this past year's. Factors that come into play, more popular beer gardens, so they're all over the place now. You also have some places where things are getting back to normal. You have some with COVID. There's just a variety of different things. But again, we just charge a straight fee, and that's state law. We can't do more than that. So we did $5,200. What we just want to kind of let you know is we're beginning to kind of reach out to a couple breweries, and we're probably going to do an RFP, some sort of an RFP. As we reach out to certain breweries, because we want to choose, like, are you interested or not? We got some that said, sure, we'll provide you all the beer, but we don't want to work it, nor do we have the staff to work it. So we are really beginning to think, and so we want to try to narrow this down to like, okay, if there's 4 places that are interested, let's just send out an RFP to those 4 places. And so we're kind of in this process of going back and forth. So the other thing too is we are always seeing, things that like maybe a nonprofit want to do it, that might be interested, and at the same time we might be able to get beer for them. So we're looking at a lot of different options. But what we just want you to do is we want you to kind of look and say, approve the recommendation to host a beer garden here again like we did. Once we have who that is, we will take it to finance with all the cost and similarly set up the dates of where it is throughout the summer. We don't know what that's going to look like too. Maybe the person might say, yeah, we only want to do it 3 times a year because you know what? We only can do it 3 times a year. Right now, hiring and shortage of workers has been a big deal for a lot of places. Getting the beer is not a problem. It's finding who to work it right now. So we're just looking for you to recommend to approve it again. We are going to host it there at Veterans. It's, again, $5,200. I think it also brings a very good social time for people to use our parks and get to know where our parks are. So any other questions that you have about the beer garden? And it's a good time to put an RFP out. We didn't do it last year. It's time to do it again. See who's interested.
I'll make a motion to recommend to host the community beer garden again.
A second.
Any discussion, questions, comments?
When you talk about having the nonprofits come in,
Mm-hmm.
are you thinking that they would get some of that money? As a,
We're throwing different ideas out.
motivation?
And you know what? We're looking at, for example, I didn't know if you guys knew Lions had a Oktoberfest beer garden out there, and they did very well. So, again, they seem to have volunteers, they seem to have someone to do it. They just had to go buy their own beer and do it. We're not against it. We're just saying that because of what's happening, we're looking at all options. So if maybe a nonprofit would approach us and say, hey, by the way, we'll run it completely and do it, I don't think we would be against it. We kind of like to think outside the box a little bit. But I think that opened our eyes up a little bit. I don't know if, I mean, they were quite successful for a one-day event out there. And if that would be would approach us to do it, we know people and distributors that could get them the beer pretty cheaply. Again, but you buy all the beer ahead of time. I mean, there's a little bit more logistics to work through, but we're not against it. It still provides the same social thing. We just, as a community, if we would run it ourselves, one of us would have to become a bartender license, and then we would have to have staff to pour. And we're not ready, or nor do we have staff to do that. So, but I think it would be us not to look at something like that. Why would we close our eyes against it? So,
Okay.
kind of.
Yeah, I've done that for other nonprofits. We've done concerts and we just did one at Harley and they gave us an hourly rate back to our organization, so.
And all we only asked for the straight $400. I don't think we would change any of that. We just, flat rate, whatever you make, you make. That beer, or whoever does the beer garden now, after they pay us $400 for that one daily rate, whatever they else make, it's all theirs, so.
Okay. All in favor of approving using veterans for beer garden in the future or for next year? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it's approved. Idle aisle staffing.
So if you haven't been to Idle Isle in the last 2 years, it's a crazy place to be. We have had so much use there. It is out of control busy, and we used to have people that worked there. They were removed 5 or 6 years ago, so I put back in the budget. It comes out of the rec operating budget to put back in an Idle Isle park ranger that would be there pretty much 7 days a week. They would do 8-hour shifts Monday through Friday, and then 10-hour shifts Saturday and Sunday. We envision hiring a couple of different people. We've been working with the new police chief, looking at ways of taking some of the burden off of them to deal with parking issues, maybe potentially allowing our ranger to write citations, so they would be able to deal with all the parking issues that comes up. So if the police are needed, they're not also having to do all of those things, and working with their water patrol, which they are planning on increasing next year. We put in a kayak launch, like a little beach area for kayak launching. We're going to be updating our pay stations there. We had concessions there this year, and we just felt that it would be best if we have a person there that would be able to deal with trash, reminding people about not bringing their dogs, or not parking on the grass, or not mooring their boats, and those type of things. And so we did put it in the budget. We're going to, we need to redo the job description because so many things have changed at that site from when we had the old job description. And so the plan is right now to pay for those positions out of the money we bring in for parking at the pay stations. Once we see what salary, like right now, we had to increase all of our salaries for our seasonal people to $10 an hour because we can't get workers. So depending on where that comes in, what kind of feedback we get, we may have to increase the cost of parking at Idle Isle. But that would be something I would bring back to this committee in the spring, saying, we might have to up it. We're still under what the county charges for vehicle parking. So they could choose to come here or choose to go to the county park. We're going to continue to do concessions. We did not get started until the first week in July this year. We couldn't get freezers or refrigerators. Then we got people to work, and then they bailed on us. We couldn't get product. Gatorade is a national-wide shortage, can't get it. We couldn't get ice cream for a while, so it was kind of crazy. So we're working out those logistics, but we plan on having it. It was very successful. I didn't bring the numbers with me. I want to say it was close to $5,000 of supplies, expenses, everything, like the refrigerator and everything. We covered all of the costs that we had this year. So made maybe a $400 or $500 profit, but we also had to buy $300 sign, $800 worth of refrigerator. So not having those costs will help us a lot next year and being open more consistently. So this was just more of an information because I know you guys get a lot of feedback on what Idle Isle is like, and we're going to try and really rein in the amount of public use and kind of getting out of control there.
Have you had a lot of issues with the parking machines, problems with them, or not really?
Continual. So
Because when I've been out there, that's been the biggest
Sure.
comment I've gotten from people is, not that they had to pay to park.
No, they don't work.
So much as the machine not taking their car
Yeah.
or whatever.
And so in our capital budget, we have putting in new pay stations that the vendor that we worked with, the product comes from France. So this year, they shut down on the 4th of July to do a complete service update because it's not 4th of July in France, but it is here.
It is.
Yeah, 4th of July, but so not a big holiday. So they didn't think it was a big deal to be down for 48 hours. They did not notify any provider in the United States that they were doing that. So we are looking at different versions that would actually be able to sell our season passes as well. There are some machines that do that. The other problem we have is they are cellularly powered. So they have solar power, and then we're shooting the communication across the lake to the water tower by DPW. Yeah. So a high wind day, a high sun day, super cloudy day, we don't always have the best reception. So we put in the capital to actually hardwire them directly and with a phone line and power so that will alleviate some of those problems. But we lose out probably on a good $10,000 worth of revenue a year on those machines because they're that bad.
Wow.
So, yep.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue other than
Right.
just use.
And
so many
so
people.
that's part of the staffing thing is having a person there. Like we can put a sign up saying machine out of order. That person can sit there and just sell a daily parking pass to people.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm not sure if you're aware, and this fits in the agenda part here. So as part of our budget this year also, we've had, and I'm sure you guys have heard it over the years, a lack of patrolling on the lake from our police officers and just not enough enforcement out there. So as part of our budget going this year and going forward, we're going to have a dedicated police officer, part-time officer that they're going to hire that will be out on the lake for a set amount of hours every week. And that's really what their job will be. It won't be one of our officers getting them out there when they have time and when they're not doing something. So if you're hearing complaints about enforcement on the lakes, that should change drastically starting next summer as well.
Good. Okay, Tammy, you don't need any action on this. This is just for information, right?
Yep. The only thing will be if we feel that we have to raise the fees, then I'll come back in March with a new proposal for that.
Okay. Okay, next item is recommendation regarding not purchasing the land of east of Park Arthur.
Correct. So the memo I have, this was brought up by Adam Trepalski at our office. He's the planning manager. And when he did the last comp plan, there was language placed in there. And below, if you look at it, it's on Park Arthur 3C. And it says, Park Arthur is found along College Avenue in the northwest portion of the city and is slated to be a full-scale community park within the next 10 years. If lands to the east of this park should become available for sale or via proposed development, the park board shall look into acquisition of a portion of these lands for the future expansion of Park Arthur. Additional lands could provide additional recreational services to the community, including increased trail amenities. So he brought this up to me. So what's currently happening, there's this development called Kirtland Crossing. And Kirtland Crossing is a 108 lot, single family residential that already has an option on the land and has already got, a preliminary plat approved by Common Council for a single family residential. That land east of Park Arthur is very valuable. And right now, valuable enough where a developer came in and development is moving quickly because we don't have lots in the city of Muskego. The developers at that point where the next thing that they would do is submit construction plans for the city to start reviewing, and that's where they're at. We as a city do not have the funds to purchase that land east of Park Arthur. Now, please remember, we still own a very good chunk of land on the west side of Park Arthur that we know probably in our next parks plan, we're gonna have to do something about. You've heard before when, I think Alderman Kabusta brought up, when we have a softball tournament or something, that we have some concerns of parking over there. And it's only gonna get more as you see these fields come in. These fields are gonna generate a lot of tournaments. And so we are gonna have a serious talk about what we wanna see done on that west side for development. But for right now, the city's recommendation to the board is we don't purchase it because it's already on the process of being developed. And we still have a portion to develop on the west side, but we also don't have the funds. But this was a caveat that was in our land plan. I'm not sure if anyone knew that on the board, so. Any questions from me about this?
Are you referring to the west side being the portion that it's wooded?
There's a portion that's wooded, and then there's a farmer's field that we rent out that farmer's field to be farm. We own all that, correct?
Just that little house pocket in the middle.
It's not quite as big as the east side, is it, acreage-wise, but it's pretty.
It's fairly big, but it's a fairly significant amount of land. I know there was plans, I kind of actually looked up old plans. At one time, they had old plans there of a couple like soccer fields, football fields, and stuff like that. So it has some significant amount of land there, so.
It goes all the way from College back by the archery range. So it's that whole strip.
Okay, is there a motion to recommend not purchasing land east of Park Arthur?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Any other discussion about this? The only question I have, Scott, this kind of brought it to mind. When we got Park Arthur, we got a significant amount of money in a grant from the state. Are they still doing the grant program on purchasing park lands? Or doesn't anybody know? I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot, I'm just curious. Yeah.
I couldn't tell you either. The only thing I do know is there's been a lot of new grants out with the new COVID funds. I forgot the acronym for it. So it's called Badger Bounce Back, and Adam and I are going through a lot of different things. Some are to improve your downtown community. Some of those other things that we're looking for to see if there's anything that we can take advantage. I haven't seen anything in there specifically for parks. I don't know of anything based off the parks, what you said. I just know some of the hottest new grants are whatever related to this COVID funding.
Okay.
So.
All right, all in favor of the motion not to purchase this land, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's approved.
Okay, the last one is update on parks projects 2021, update on park capital projects. So, and Wendy's going to run this. So, a couple big things for 2021. The new Manchester Park Playground has all been completed. You're all involved with that. That one's good. Besides the daily kind of maintenance and stuff, the big thing was Park Arthur Field 1, 2, and 3. So, Tammy's going to play a video, or Wendy, sorry. Wendy's going to play a video It's going to first do Park Arthur Field 1, 2, and 3, and then we're going to roll right into Little Muskego Lake Access 9. We use grant MSD Green Infrastructure Funds to redo it, so I wanted to show you that video too. So. And while you're watching it, just to let you know, on Field 3, they rolled out the turf today.
Yeah.
Or one? Field 1. They did on Field 1 today. So if you want to take a look and see what it looks, please stop by. All the stuff in black there is the outfield. All the outfield grass has sprouted. It's pretty thick. We'll probably do our first long round of cuts on it this week. But the turf is going on Field 1, take 5 days, and it'll go on Field 2 the next 5 days, and Field 3 the next 5 days. So 15 days, and all the turf will be down. And then we'll put up the fencing. These fields should be ready to go in April. We already had a national person reach out for and hold a national tournament next year for it. So, and as you can see towards the end, you'll start seeing the grass start popping in the outfields already. So, but if anyone has time, please stop over. They're pretty, and the weather the next 2 days are looking really good. So. Basically, all the fields got torn up and rebuilt. And you'll see that a lot of the fields are a little higher. This allowed for the drainage underneath it and actually to fix a lot of the drainage issues. So if you've ever been out there and all of a sudden you're walking like, why is that field so much higher? But as you can see right there, you can see all the grass growing in all the outfield. That's a kind of a good picture. If you would go out there now, it's pretty darn thick already in the outfield. So. And next we're going to move to lake access number 9. This used to be number 12 at the end of Park Drive. So it was kind of a all crappy area that was falling over railroad ties, and we used a MSD Green Infrastructure Fund to do it, and it probably is now the nicest looking lake access point that with native landscaping and porous pavers, and you'll start zooming in and see it kind of right there.
Turned out very nice.
Yeah, if anyone has time, go check it out. It's pretty cool. So, and we'll make sure to get a pier up there, and then people can dock their boats there during the day if they wanted to stop over at Lake Access Point, and then they can't keep it overnight there, but just so. Some people didn't even know there was a lake access point there because it was so overgrown and kind of falling apart. So.
I like delineating the area with the fence too.
We,
Claiming the access area.
So what you have mentioned there is when we do developments now, one of our big things is wetlands on private properties. We ask them to put that type of fencing. It provides a good delineator so that when a person buys a lot, they understand this is wetlands and they don't creep and start filling those in. With this lake access point and how that did provide that, we definitely consider, that's why we did it at Isle. We definitely consider as we do more lake access points that it just provides a really clean look of saying what's ours, what's the other person's, but it's kind of natural. It's not like a chain link fence. It looks good, and it does its job, which is just kind of define the property line. So again, these are kind of those things that you see. As we kind of roll right into the capital projects, one of the things that we did recommend is to do it at Park Arthur, because if we spent all these money on the fields, why wouldn't we have a fence there to delineate so people don't drive on the grass as well? And that's kind of my next topic is, here's what you have is the capital. If you zoom in, this is kind of where I would do, like, there's a section called Future Trails. There's no current plan to work on designs or construction. In that area, I would have Ryan Drive, Martin Drive, and I would give you a cost for an RFP, and I'd give you a cost for possible construction. And then I would update it once we get a cost estimate and back, but that's where you would see it in there. Kind of the big highlights, just to let you know, for 2022, mostly focusing on outdoor seating with shade at Lions Park. Really then kind of just fixing Park Arthur gets split railed fence, and then really making improvements to all our pavilions. Looking at new bathroom stalls for the next like all the buildings, all those bathroom stalls need to be done, and then replace the parking stations at Idle Isle. We're kind of looking at about $319,000 we're spending on capital projects for next year. You can kind of see 369 for the following year. The big one that's going to happen for 2023 is to redo Vets Playground. That'll be about $325,000. And as you start coming down in 2025, 2025, we have about $85,000 at Sandhill, and in 2024, we have about $250 at Moreland. So what those are is Moreland Park is growing. And at one point, we know as we are starting to look at our new parks plan, we really need pavilion and bathrooms at Moreland Park. So this is us planning. We know that some other things will drive once we finish our park plan. Sandhill Park, we're planning for $85,000 in 2025 for permanent bathrooms. Across the street from Sandhill is called Mallard Reserve. I believe that's 45 lots that are going in there. Single-family residential. You have Muskego Lakes Estates is coming online. You have that other one that I showed you that proposed, that's another 20. The only real park in that area is Sandhill Park. We know also there's areas for fields. That's something we'll have to look at too, of finishing out like baseball fields or soccer fields. We have the land there. We just never did anything because there was no need for it. We feel as the numbers are increasing, that park is going to become more and more used because of the amount of people moving down in that area. So that's kind of like our long-term stuff to look at. But please check out Park Arthur. It's going to be pretty impressive. And we're getting a lot of responses from, or inquiries, is that the best way to put it, from various organizations outside of Muskego, outside to run tournaments here. I mean, those parks, the fields will be pretty much, can handle almost any weather. We'll probably, if it snows off, probably start being used in April of next year already. So, and can go all the way till October. So.
Very good. Any comments?
Do you have anything to add, Tammy?
Okay, thanks, Scott. Recreation Managers Report.
So, I can't express enough how crazy it has been in our parks. Not just crazy behavior, but crazy amount of use. Adam and I have spent more in the last 2 years during COVID summers dealing with park things than one would anticipate we would. But last year I had mentioned we had 72 park rentals. This year we're over 175 park rentals. That's 175 individuals who have reserved a shelter one time. So we have some like Boy Scouts who meet every other week. We've had some churches doing outdoor services. So we're over 200 different events that have been held in the park shelters, which is crazy. And with the bathrooms being open at Park Arthur year round, we've already had some groups reach out to us about potential like Boy Scout events in the fall, like late fall, winter camping type things. And then if we do a beer garden, so we will be probably doing rentals there year round. We brought in just over $35,000 in revenue at the Idle Isle pay stations. It's down from last year. However, we sold 600 season passes. I actually just mailed out 5 more today. So We're at like 608 total passes. We normally sell around 350. So we've doubled that. And the majority of them are Muskego residents. They are not going to non-residents. A lot of homeowners bought boats during COVID to get out on the water, I think. And so we've sold a lot of those. So the revenue's down for the daily passes because people have bought the season passes. And we will still sell them as hunting season continues. We'll still sell a few more. Our enrollment in our programs bounced back very quickly. We've had really successful programs. We expanded our 3K, 4K program and held that over the summer. That drove up some of our preschool numbers. So it was a really good year for us recreation-wise so far. We are starting to work on our winter spring program guide. We're going to go with the same route we've been doing. We mail a 16-page highlight to all Muskego addresses, directing them to our online full guide, which is actually a digital book. So they can just find the program they want, click on it. It will take them right to our registration software. So it makes it a lot easier for people to find things. That should be out in mid-November. The recreation software that we started with last year was a huge success for us. We traditionally take a lot of phone calls for registration. Not so many people come in or mail in things, but they would call and do their registrations because our old software was not very good. This new software is phenomenal, and we've done $243,000 solely online where we didn't even talk to a person. They just went in and did all their registrations. So it has been really good for us considering there's only 2 of us in the office. We can only answer so many phone calls, so that's good news. And then in August, we held our inaugural Greg Klon Memorial Pickleball Tournament. Greg was a pickleball ambassador that we had who unfortunately passed away while being an ambassador at pickleball. And so we set up a tournament in his memory. We had 88 registrations, and we raised money for the food pantry and gave that as well as some additional monies that came in from people who were participating in his family. And then we did the presentation of his bench, which will be located in the park when the shade area and the plantings and things go in that were part of our capital project.
Any questions for Tammy? Thanks, Tammy. Conservation Coordinators report.
Greetings.
Greetings.
So we have, now have a signed contract with Trees on the Move to plant 50 park trees, 8 library trees, and a bunch of tree replacements on Janesville Road. And this money is from MMSD's green infrastructure. So it's not city money. It's money I paid when I paid my sewage fee. So a portion thereof goes back to our community for those green infrastructure programs. We were still working to spend a full $50,000, which we planned for, and we'll be able to also replace the Christmas tree here at Old Town Hall, as well as probably some trees over at Lions Park to shade the area around the pickleball court. So there's also a new fence that's been finally installed at Luther Parker Cemetery. Looks pretty nice. I was approached by Danoon Lake District to put up some kind of signage on South Danoon Road for the new boating regulations as far as slow no wake hours. And I proposed that we use one of the kiosks that was removed from Big Muskego Lake, which are still usable, and we could put that up there. So that's finally got the Diggers Hotline clearance, and we're going to put that up. So they'll be able to put other lake information there too. It's actually in the town of Norway, that launch site on South Danoon Road. So I had to work with Norway to get permission to do that. Bulk of what I do is what myself and my assistant do is invasive species work, and that has been going well, I guess. It seems overwhelming at times, but definitely seeing improvements in our sites. So the work is worthwhile. Recently, we have an intern working with us, and she's been a lot of help, so I put that in there. And I'd encourage you to get out and walk some of the conservation sites. I was out at Batisher Preserve today, and great weather, no bugs to worry about, good fall color, so get out and enjoy it. Any questions?
Yeah, are those trees that are proposed to be planted, are they going to be done by the end of this year, or is this going to carry over to next year?
It will be done this year. They expect to do them in the month of November, I believe, so pretty soon here.
Any conifers? No. No conifers, right?
No conifers, no. Bill, you helped me with the list.
I know, but I don't know what you approved, so. Just because
So-
I help with the list doesn't mean that I'm, privy to what's being put in.
Bill, I'm going to just say, Bill's been a lot of help to a lot of tree issues in this city. I lean on him a lot for things that I don't know as much about, so he's been an arborist for a long time, and I find he's very, very valuable.
Thank you, Tom.
So thanks.
Appreciate it.
So where's the South Danoon Road launch site?
It's on Hart Drive. It's called Hart Drive. So it goes along the south edge of the lake, and there's just about 5% of Lake Danoon that dips down into the town of Norway. It's not in Waukesha County. It's in Racine County and town of Norway. So a certain alderman approached me who's active with that Lake District, Kubaki, and he asked about can we provide a sign, and I suggested this because information on these things changes, and they can put other information in there as well. So I thought it was
I wasn't even aware that we had a launch on the south side.
It's actually it's for private owners, I believe, who live on that other side of the road on South Danoon Road. So it's not a public access site, but the lake users there who go there do not see the slow and awake boating information, whatnot, that they see at the other launch. So he wants to make them aware of the rules of the lake. So
Makes sense. Any
Anything
questions
else?
for Tom? Thanks.
thank you.
Any miscellaneous announcements? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion?
A second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned.